Coast Bias. The boys back by popular demand, of course, for your friends on FanDuel TV, courtesy of the Ringer Gambling Show. It's Raheem the Dream Palmer in Sin City, Las Vegas. It's Joe House from D.C. John Jastrzemski, courtesy of New York, rocking and rolling. Boys, the Oklahoma City Thunder are one win away from the NBA Finals, and my condolences if you laid 3 or 3.5 with the Thunder because you were on the right side of this game for the most part. It really felt like despite the comeback made by the Minnesota Timberwolves in the fourth quarter, there was just too many issues as far as turning the basketball over early. They got killed on the offensive glass early, and when this game got tight, it felt like any time OKC needed a bucket, it was SGA in the mid-range, it was Jalen Williams, it was Chet Holmgren, and Oklahoma City squeaks it out, and they are now up 3-1 in this series. Joe House, this was the most entertaining game, hands down, of the 4 we have watched. Minnesota got the sort of contributions they needed from their role guys, but I think it's pretty simple. You look at why the Minnesota Timberwolves didn't win this game, I could look at 2 specific reasons. 1, can't turn the ball over as many times as they did and think you're going to get away with it. Number 2, their best players were not at their very best.
Yeah, JJ, it is very simple. In a 2-point game, when Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards combine for 21 points, 9 assists, and 11 rebounds, combine, that ain't going to get the job done. Now, kudos to the Minnesota Timberwolves role players. Jaden McDaniels showed up and had a very good game. Rudy Gobert was a forceful presence. They worked him in. DiVincenzo's best game of the entire series. Nickeil Alexander-Walker with 23 points, 5 of 8 from 3. But you need Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle in a 2-point game. And this is the thing with this Oklahoma City Thunder, the resilience all season long. And any time they have, over the course of these playoffs, encountered adversity, they come back, they handle their business. They're just somewhat inevitable, Dream. I think that's where it comes down to. I was excited by the level of play with the Timberwolves, but the turnovers led to Oklahoma City getting 11 more shot attempts, and ultimately that was the difference. The T-Wolves just could not get that shot to get themselves over the hump, and so here we are with Oklahoma City on the brink of an NBA Finals, my friend.
I got to go a different direction because, you look at Julius Randle and you look at Anthony Edwards, and I know they didn't score a lot of points, but ultimately they shot the Wolves shot 51% from the field, 43% from 3. They shot the same percentages as the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight, but ultimately they had 23 turnovers and conceded 25 points off of turnovers, and they got out-rebounded early. So you're looking at a team that basically lost this game because they lost the possession battle. And I think, people are going to look at this game and say Anthony Edwards was passive, but I think they were selling out and, forcing other guys to beat them. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think the Wolves truly beat themselves in this game. You can't turn the ball over that much and expect to win a game. And the fact is, they were right there. They lost this game by 2 points. Oklahoma City has still yet to cover a road game in the postseason. But I got to give it up for the Oklahoma City Big Three because SGA, out there with 40 points, he showed why he's the MVP. But then you had the other guys step up. Jalen Williams, 34 points. Chet Holmgren. He was a monster on the boards. He scored 21 points. He hit those threes, 2 for 4 from 3. I think the Big Three for OKC, they truly stepped up. And if you're looking at the course of the postseason, this was their second best offensive rating for the entire postseason. So, we've spoken at length about Oklahoma City, their role players struggling to hit shots. Well, tonight they hit every big shot in every big moment.
Not wrong about that, Raheem. Monstrous game out of the Big Three, and you knew you were going to get a bounce-back game from SGA. That's exactly what you got. He went for 40, but you don't win this game on the road without Jalen Williams giving you 30. How many big threes did he hit? Chet Holmgren, to your point, was all over the place. Minnesota native, knows a thing or two about playing in that building as a high school athlete, and he's getting offensive rebounds. He's blocking shots. He's slamming things home. He was super assertive, super aggressive. So you're right. All 3 of those guys play great. And House, turnovers. In the first half of this game, Minnesota is shooting do you know what out of the ball. I mean, every guy with the exception of Edwards was hitting shot after shot after shot. And as someone that had Minnesota plus 3.5 in this game, I'm watching the game saying, how in the world did they down 8? How are they down 9 with the way they're shooting it? They couldn't grab rebounds early and the turnovers. You turn it over 20-plus times, you're not winning a playoff game. Sorry, not going to happen.
Yeah, the turnover differential didn't turn out to be as glaring as in the first couple of games. But the problem is the margin for error is so thin against this Oklahoma City team because they just don't beat themselves. I just want to do a quick tip of the cap to Jalen Williams because this is now 4 out of 5 games where, we've been asking, will that second guy show up for Oklahoma City? Well, he has put himself squarely in the center, put the spotlight on himself and said he is that second guy. And he has, an ease to his game, the comfort of his 34 points tonight, 6 for 9 from 3. But the thing that was so impressive, it was all in rhythm. He wasn't forcing a damn thing. 13 for 24 from the field compared to SGA 13 for 30. I mean, a very efficient 34 for Jalen Williams. And the scary thing for the rest of the league is that both Lou Dort and Isaiah Hartenstein were not that impactful because they didn't need to be. I mean, Hartenstein played 16 minutes. They just don't really need him against this Minnesota team because Caruso's got those minutes and Caruso's been so effective and Dort can just be a defensive specialist. That's a scary, scary thing for the rest of the league, Dream.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely scary. I mean, and then you look at guys like Case and Wiles. They got him. I mean, he's basically the Dort replacement. So it's like, I mean, you're looking at a league with the second apron, which is basically a hard cap. And, you could pay SGA, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and they have enough young guys around them to where it's like you can afford to lose Dort. So it's definitely scary for the league coming up. And, whoever, comes through. I mean, I know the series isn't over, but up 3-1, it's going to be very difficult for Minnesota to come back and win this series. And if the Thunder make the finals, you're looking at minus 400, minus 500 favorite over whoever wins the Eastern Conference Finals, Knicks or Pacers.
We'll have time to probably break down Oklahoma City in the NBA Finals coming up next week. I do want to hit on Game 5. It is the way too early look for us at a Game 5 line because Game 4 just wrapped up. We're sitting here talking about it as we speak. The line, Raheem, Oklahoma City is at 8.5. The total is at 220. I think the prevailing thought is going to be Oklahoma City back at home. They're going to get more of a well-rounded, diverse type of, balance to their scoring. It's hard to make the case for the Timberwolves. They've played better in the last 2 games, but OKC has looked like a completely different team at home. We've seen that this entire postseason, and when they get it going and they put it on you, and they love to win by double digits. What's your initial read seeing that 8.5 line as we sit here today?
Yeah, I don't necessarily, want to play a side in this game because we all know the closeout game is, typically the hardest game of any series, especially with a team as good as Minnesota. I'm looking at the total. I think we've had 3 straight overs in this series, and it doesn't seem like it's slowing down at any point in time. So I think you got to go over. 220 just seems a little bit short. I think you got to grab that. Just go back to the well again, and obviously, the Wolves are going to be balls to the wall at this point in time, and I expect a better game from Anthony Edwards. I expect a better game from Julius Randle. So I want to go over the total. I'm not touching the side at all.
So interesting, Raheem. House, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, but Raheem, the Minnesota role players have been lights out in these home games. They weren't lights out in the first 2 games in OKC. Does that scare you at all?
It doesn't scare me at all because, even in, game 2, you had a total score of 118-103. And, you went over the total of 218. So, I mean, even if, Minnesota's role players don't play as well, I think you'll get a better game from Oklahoma City's role players. And then I also think, you'll probably have some fouls at the end or, if it's a blowout, you'll have some garbage time. So I just think this total is too short. And I think the faucet has been cut on for both teams offensively. I think, both teams offensively have really gotten it going the last couple games. I mean, outside of, game 3 where Oklahoma City had 101. But I think this total's too short, so I'm going over.
House, what are we thinking?
I love the way that Dream is laying this out. I'm going to get even a little bit freakier. I'm going to play the Minnesota team total over, and I'm going to really plow into it. I'm going to go heavy because I think that it sets up for a lot of different ways to get an out with that. Can you hear
the
that?
The dogs like it too, House. They're a fan of that team total. Don't forget about that.
The dogs support it, yes. So I like that Minnesota team total. I'll play a little bit on the over, and I'm just going to go ahead and play OKC on the money line. I think they are going to close it out. I think this is the end of the road for Minnesota, and I'll figure out something nice to parlay it with. It could be the team total.
So I don't like Minnesota at all in this spot, guys. I know they competed their tails off in these last 2 games at home. They look so overwhelmed playing those games in Oklahoma City. I get the closeout factor, Raheem. I just think it's kind of a coronation type of spot for the Thunder. I think they're going to come out guns a-blazing. I think they're going to have everybody contributing left and right. And as we sit here today, I don't have to make a pick on it immediately. Actually, yes, I do. I'm going to take Oklahoma City laying 8.5 because I don't think they're losing a game. And I think it could unravel for Minnesota. I've seen it in game 1. I saw it in game 2. Don't be surprised if you see it in game number 5.